And we're back. So let's finally talk about Marvel's first series on Disney Plus, WandaVision. If you're watching this, I'm gonna assume that you've already seen the entire show. If not, well, spoilers. In this 9-episode miniseries, we get to see what happens to Wanda after the events of Avengers Endgame. Because Wanda lost everything: her parents, her brother, and of course, Vision. She creates her ideal life with Vision using chaos magic and settles in the town of Westview, where they raise a couple of kids and have all kinds of sitcom hijinks. Meanwhile, SWORD, the agency formerly known as S.H.I.E.L.D., is trying to figure out what's going on. But this story is fundamentally about grief and how Wanda deals with that pain. So first of all, I love this show. Even though I had some trouble with the narrative in the first couple of episodes, but Marvel has built up so much trust and goodwill over the years that I wasn't worried for a second. Well, maybe a little. The first 2 episodes are reminiscent of sitcoms from the 1950s, like Bewitched. The premise of the show is that Wanda and Vision have settled into suburban life. Wanda acts like a housewife who solves her everyday problems with her superpowers, while Vision goes to work at some generic computer company. But we all know that Vision is dead, and underneath that surface of sitcom comedy, there is a sadness. And even though it's wonderful to see Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen in this setting, the story doesn't really give you that many clues, not until episode 4. And by the way, I absolutely love these little homages to sitcoms from the past decades. We have, of course, Bewitched. Later we get the Brady Bunch, then Full House, Family Ties, Malcolm in the Middle, and lastly, Modern Family. All of these were pitch perfect. And later we find out that Wanda used to watch these sitcoms with her family in Sokovia. Again, it's sad. But as far as an overarching storyline, there isn't much to latch onto in these first couple of episodes. It only gives you some little breadcrumbs, like that awkward dinner party and Wanda editing her reality. But it's not much to go on, and... What?
You're wearing green.
Yeah, it's my Hulk shirt.
It's not gonna show up on screen.
Shit. Well, I'm not starting over. So now what? It's not until episode 4 where we finally break away from the sitcom framing device and they finally explain what the hell is going on. They introduce Monica Rambeau, who we first saw in Captain Marvel as a little girl, as she comes back into existence from the blip. Are we still calling it the blip, by the way, because it sounds so frivolous for what it really is? Blip. Blip. Anyway, Monica is of course an agent for SWORD, and her first assignment is to investigate Westview. When she crosses the border of Wanda's illusion, or Hex as they call it, she gets rewritten to fit Wanda's sitcom narrative. And from that point on, the show got, for me anyways, a lot more interesting. We have returning characters like Darcy and Agent Wu teaming up with Monica. We have Director Hayward working against them with his own personal agenda. And Vision is slowly discovering that his world is not what it seems. Kind of like Jim Carrey in a sort of twisted Truman Show. That was what I was waiting for. Intrigue, drama, and character motivation. Now, I'm not a writer, but I am an editor. That's my day job. And if I were to make a fan edit of those first 4 episodes, I wouldn't change a thing about episode 1, but I would have started episode 2 with Monica Rambeau coming back from the blip, followed by Hayward lying to her about Wanda stealing Vision's body. Right after that, you can still have the second 50s episode, but now it has a little more context. You have something to latch onto. Keeping your audience in the dark for 3 weeks is a big risk. If this wasn't Marvel Studios, I don't know. But that's just me, and I don't work for Disney. Obviously. But the drama element in this show works incredibly well. Elizabeth Olsen is outstanding. She impressed me the most. In the first half of the series, I wasn't that interested in Vision's story, but his character goes from somewhat comic relief to an equally tragic character as Wanda. I mean, he did die after all. I also really like the creepy side effects of Wanda holding the residents of Westview hostage. There are a couple of really dark moments where we see the reality behind this sitcom illusion. As much as I like the action in the show, the drama is just as interesting, if not more, than Wanda using her powerful powers. And then of course we have Catherine Hahn as the Salem witch Agnes, or Agatha I should say. Hahn has been one of the best things about WandaVision. Her performance and timing were just perfect.
I promise I won't bite.
I actually did bite a kid once.
We learn that she was the one who's been manipulating Wanda all along and is really after Wanda's Scarlet Witch powers. And most of the mystery in the show comes from her messing with Wanda's head. I know I'm a little harsh on the first couple of episodes, but honestly, part of the fun as a viewer is trying to get to the bottom of this mysterious mystery. Wow, I need to get a thesaurus. WandaVision is also full of little Easter eggs and hints. For example, that moment when Monica Rambeau says this.
I know an aerospace engineer who'd be up for this challenge.
That could be Reed Richards. I mean, Marvel has a Fantastic Four movie planned in Phase 4, but we don't know until we know. There's also Wanda's wonderful Magneto moment, which could hint to a future X-Men movie from Marvel Studios. There's the White Vision from the final episode that looks exactly like West Coast Avengers Vision. And there are many references to Doc Strange, which isn't surprising since Wanda also stars in Doc Strange 2. There are so many little hints and Easter eggs in the show that it felt like back in the day when I was watching Lost looking for clues. Only, better. The final episode was great, and even though it's pretty cool to see Vision fight himself, the scene where he reasons with himself was way more interesting, and I'm sure that sets up something for the future as well. But yeah, ultimately Wanda defeats Agnes with her own trick, something that was very clever set up in a previous episode, and she's finally confronted with the fact that she's tormenting the people of Westview. And that leaves her with a choice. Save her family because they can't exist outside the Hex, or save the people of Westview. Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany already had a very touching moment in the previous episode. This scene happened between the events of Age of Ultron and Civil War, in which Wanda is talking to Vision, and Vision has that wonderful quote.
But what is grief, if not love persevering?
I'm not gonna lie, maybe it's because I'm in quarantine still, but that line completely destroyed me. And then the finale rolls around and goes, "Oh, you thought that was emotional? Hold my beer."
We have said goodbye before, so it stands to reason.
We'll say hello again.
That farewell scene was beautiful, cathartic, and yeah, I may have shed a tear or two. Want to fight about it? WandaVision has a weird start, but in the end I was very thankful for the ride, and I can't wait to see what Sam Raimi does with a now more powerful Wanda in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So yes, of course I highly recommend watching this series. So you just want me to stand still? Okay. Why am I doing this?